Louis Quilico was one of the leading operatic baritones of the 20th century. His sudden passing on July 15, 2000 was a great loss to the musical world. Quilico performed at many of the world's great opera houses: Covent Garden, the Paris Opera, the Bolshoi, and the Vienna Staatsoper, to name only a few. He was a stalwart of the Metropolitan Opera, appearing nearly 300 times over 25 consecutive years. At the Met, he sang under the baton of James Levine, Zubin Mehta, Richard Bonynge and Claudio Abbado, and alongside tenors including Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, John Vickers and José Carreras, and sopranos Joan Sutherland, Renata Tebaldi, Renata Scotto, and Beverly Sills. Louis Quilico was an ideal interpreter of the great Italian and French composers, but it was his defining portrayal of Rigoletto, the hunchbacked jester in Verdi's tragic masterpiece, that won him international acclaim, as well as the nickname Mr. Rigoletto. He sang the role more than 500 times, the last being at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa in September of 1994. After his retirement from the operatic stage in 1998, he continued to perform, touring extensively with his wife, the celebrated pianist Christina Petrowska Quilico. Together they made 4 recordings and a teaching video, and collaborated on the book Mr. Rigoletto in Conversation with Louis Quilico. In this book, Quilico shared his views on singing, on opera, and on his signature role, Rigoletto. He also talked about his own personally devised vocal techniques, sharing them with a new generation of singers. What is missing in the printed version of these conversations is Quilico's own voice and his unique personality. In these recordings, we hear him speak in his own words, with his own voice, unfiltered and unedited. Speaking personally, baritone Louis Quilico, Mr. Rigoletto, in conversation with Christina Petrowska Quilico. In this conversation, Louis remembers 2 favorite productions, a Lucia di Lammermoor at Covent Garden and an I Puritani with Beverly Sills, among others, and he offers some advice on how to handle stage directors.
How much influence does a stage director have on your portrayal of a role? Say you've thought about your interpretation of Scarpia or Iago, and a stage director comes and tells you something else. How do you deal with that?
Well, if the idea is good, I would not mind to use it. But it comes at the point where you have done, like for instance, Rigoletto. If I'm going to talk about Rigoletto, I've done about approximately 40 or 50 different production. Tosca, I've done at least 35 of them. It comes at a point where you have, it's very difficult. Sometimes you have a stage director that comes up with an idea, but very often it's not a brand new idea. It's always an old idea, but he wants to put it in another word. At that point, you say, well, why don't we try this? And very often they're satisfied with that. If it's an intelligent stage director, but you got some stage director, they don't want to hear nothing.
One of my favorite stories you told was about a San Francisco director who asked you at the last minute to do Il Trovatore. What was the funny story?
Oh boy, I had just arrived from Europe, and well, it was not a stage director; it was the director of the theater, Kurt Hadler, and I arrive, I don't remember. Wait a minute. I arrive on the Thursday from Europe, and I was very tired, and it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. At 6 o'clock, I got a phone from Mr. Adler. Louis Quilico, I need your services because my baritone is sick, and I want you to come and do our Trovatore. I says, fine. I says, when you need me, he says, you take the plane tonight. I said, no, Mr. Adler. I says, I'm deeply sorry. I am too tired. And I says, no way that I can leave tonight. But, I said, another thing, if you want me to come, you do me a favor. Just think about it and call me back. I said, goodbye. And I closed the line. Or about half an hour later, he calls back and he says, all right, please, when could you leave? I says, I can leave only tomorrow morning. He says, no, please. I said, Mr. Adler, don't insist because I'm going to close the line. You're not coming. He says, that's fine. He says, but our Trovatore is very complicated, He says, you have no idea. I said, Mr. Adler, Trovatore, I'm going to tell you what it is. The staging of Trovatore is a very simple one. Oh, no, it's very... I said, Mr. Adler, when I walk in, I'm alone. Now, that means I can go on the left, I can go on the right, I can go in the middle, I can go in the back, I can do what I want. Then all of a sudden, I have the suspicion that all of a sudden the soprano is going to come in. Well, I found out where she's coming. If she comes from the right, I go on the left. If she comes from the left, I go on the right. When she's on. Then after that, the tenor comes in. Now, if the tenor is on the left, she's on the right, what do? I go in the middle. If they're both on the left, I go on the right. And if they're both in the middle, I go either on the right or on the left. I says, that is the staging of Trovatore. Because I said, Trovatore, it is not an opera that you can really... He said, oh, no, you can make it... Mr. Adler, it's a singer opera. That's what you have to do. Deliver it as well as possible, your music, your voice, because that's all it counts. Because it's very bad for that reason. It's an opera that is what it's called a singer opera. And I'll tell you one thing, if you're not very good at it, people knows, and that it's very treacherous for that reason. And that was the famous Trovatore of San Francisco.
What about some of the other stage directors that you liked? How about...
Franco Sarro?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I like, for instance, I had done quite a few productions, like I said, the Rigoletto with Frank, without Frank. And all of a sudden, when Frank come to me, he said, Louis, he said, about this, about that, about this. It made so much sense. But it had to make sense to me. Like, for instance, the Italian, they don't believe in this. The Italian, they believe, lift your hand here, lift your hand there. No, for me, it was more than that. And all of a sudden, that's what we were doing with this Rigoletto. Because it's a real drama in music. And if you're not careful with an opera like Rigoletto, if you got a singer that just wants to sing it, you lost it. You lost your opera. Good.
I wanted you to talk for a minute about Trovatore. Here we have a quartet, basically, not a trio like...
it's a quartet.
It's a quartet. The famous sextet is from Lucia, but is this one of the most famous quartets in opera?
Well, I don't think you can call it quartet because it's quartet, duet, solo. It's all a mixture of everything. This is why I say it's a singer opera because for that reason. Because right off the blue, all of a sudden you got a fantastic aria. Then all of a sudden, right finish that, you got a big ensemble, and the first thing you know, it's an agglomeration of music, of singing. It's not one of these opera that you can say really that you could really. You could always do it, yes, cynically. I mean, acting, but it's not the kind of opera, because the thing is, when you sing, and especially if you sing in a big hall, well, the voice has got to carry. And the first thing you know, it's very difficult to be able to turn towards your partner. No, you still have to sing forward.
So it's not an actor's opera. How would you compare it to, say, the characterization of a Renato in Un ballo mascara or a Iago or a Scarpia? Is the role of Count de Luna as deep psychologically or not?
I would say it's deep. It's not tremendously deep. The only thing he wants to kill the tenor. That's one thing. And the thing is, in fact, if I remember well, he loved Leonora too. But the thing, the thing that is a little bit funny, because it's a funny scenario, Trovatore, because the tenor and the baritone are brother from birth, but one was abducted, and the other one stayed. And the idea of the whole plot is that the old gypsy wants revenge. And she finally gets revenge. Even she loved the Trovatore, but he was going to serve the purpose because her own son was killed by the father of Luna and Manrico.
So, in other words, in this particular opera, the pivotal or main character that unites all the leading roles is the gypsy. Is that how you feel?
I would say yes and no. I think the baritone is still the center figure. It's not because I want to put that the baritone, but he's the center figure. The gypsy creates the atmosphere, yes. She is a pivot too, let's put it this way. But the real great pivot of the opera is it's Luna.
What's the aria for Count de Luna that's the most
Il
famous?
Balen del suo sorriso. And he's talking about how much love he has for this woman and all that stuff, you know. Yeah.
Who have you done this opera with? Who were the tenors?
The very first time I sang it was in 1956. My first season in opera with Jussi Björling and Leontine Price. And I got to tell you one thing. For Leontine, it was the first time. For me, it was the first time. And for Björling, it was not the first time. But I have to say one thing. For many, many, many years, I bet you anything, you go back to San Francisco, they still talk about that famous Trovatore. Because I have to say one thing. She was impeccable vocally. He was impeccable vocally, and I was impeccable vocally. That means you had the three characters. I don't remember who was the Azucena. And I have to say one thing. The three of us were so incredible that the public was completely mesmerized by these three singers.
Do you have some other operas that you feel that magic happened? You spoke about the sextet and Lucia at Covent Garden. Are there other examples where you felt the ensemble was so wonderful that it stays in your memory? I Puritani?
Oh, I Puritani, yes, definitely. That is incredible. And I didn't do, it's not an opera that I have done a lot.
Who was it in I Puritani?
Well, I have to say one thing. The thing that is more memorable in my mind of I Puritani is when I did the recording with Beverly Sills, Nicola Gedda, and the bass was Pliszka.
But don't you have it with Pavarotti?
Yes, I have it with Pavarotti, but still, again, with Pliszka. But in the recording that it became a professional recording, I'm not going to brag about it, but I'm going to say it. For me, the duet between the bass and I, the baritone, I think maybe it's one of the most perfect male duet I ever heard in my life. Musically, everything, Julius Rudolph was conducting, and I have to say that it was so incredible that there was a magic in the air, and it was just a plain recording. Very often you find this magic in a performance. It's funny that you found it in the recording this time. And it doesn't happen that often that you have a real magic. I don't know, Julius had the perfect, he had the rhythm, he had exactly the speed of this duet. And my only concern about the whole thing, I'm afraid that we're getting to have trouble.
With the battery?
I think so. Okay. Oh, God, look at this. That's beautiful. Ah, okay. Yeah, to come back to I Puritani, I did quite a few performances. I mean, it was, for instance, I remember doing a performance with Beverly, Sills, Luciano Pavarotti, Pliszka, and myself at the Academy of Philadelphia. And I have to say one thing. It was so incredible. I'm not sure. I think there is a pirate recording of it. And one of these days I should look in the matter to find out if there is a recording, you know?
There was a CD, remember?
Of I Puritani?
Yes, with Pavarotti. I bought it for you.
You did?
Yeah.
Well,
it's at home.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrible. Me recording is funny. I never really put a big emphasis on it, you know.
Talking about other ensemble pieces, name some other operas that you feel reached similar levels.
I would say Otello, Traviata. That no way. That's incredible. This is the kind of opera that was always very successful for me.
Can you name some of the singers? You mentioned Othello that you felt.
Beverly, Sills, Joan Sutherland, how many others I don't remember now. But the thing is, I always felt sorry for the soprano, especially when I was in part of the opera, because when came the moment of the Provenza, that was it. You take the performance, put it in your pocket, and that's it. And I have to say one thing. No matter who it is. It's exactly the same thing with ballo. With the ballo, with the eritu, it's practically never a miss, unless you are not well or something like that. But for the baritone, if the baritone really delivers, I don't know, you take for instance Rigoletto. Well, just to come back to Rigoletto, you know that in the history of the Met, it's never been seen that after an aria of an artist to have a standing ovation. And I can show you an article from...
You said that.
I said this before? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of Rigoletto?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'll repeat it and you got it, you know. That there was a standing ovation after the Cortigiani. Oh, yes, I remember that. But anyway, I said it.
Credo from Othello?
Credo is not the kind of aria that will really transport the public. It's wonderful because, I mean, it's a marvelous thing. But it's a kind of, it's not an aria that finished with a tremendous finish. It finished very, very, very... cynical, and the first thing the public is taken, yes, but it's taken the other way. The other opera, why do you think La Pira? Why do you think it's so incredible? Because of the speed, the resolution, the delivery, and everything. And I like the Credo of Otello. It's exactly that. All of a sudden, it doesn't go on a real high key.
Mm-hmm. One of the famous arias, of course, is from Carmen for the baritone.
Well, this one, I have to say one thing. I think there's not a soul that when they're born, they just came out of their mother and they know the aria, the Toreador song, And that, I have to say one thing. In the context of the opera, it's very, very, very good because there's so many other things that are incredible. For the rest of the singers, Carmen, for instance, the tenor comes out with arias, they're incredible. But the thing is, as a piece himself to do in concert, it's one of the greatest pieces to do. It's like the aria of the Bar Seville. You do that, that's it.
The Largo.
Largo affatotum, you raise the people from their seats, with these kind of aria.
Yeah, these are solo baritone arias, but to get back to ensemble pieces, what about La Forza del Destino?
La Forza is low-key opera. The aria are very beautiful. For instance, the aria of the baritone is maybe one of the greatest aria that ever been written. But all of a sudden,
Which one is that?
It's Urna Fatale. In fact,
Yes, yeah.
my sorrow of this opera that I always say it killed maybe my favorite baritone.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We did, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about L'Elisir d'Amore?
Well, L'Elisir d'Amore, it's a fun opera. I think it's an opera that if you want to enjoy an opera as a singer, it's a wonderful opera for that. Because the thing is, it's not deep. It's not a deep opera. It's a comic opera, And that is the thing for me that is beautiful. But it comes at a point where, when you become at a point where you start to understand the drama of music, all of a sudden, this kind of opera doesn't satisfy you. Like for instance, I remember I sang so many bohème. It used to come out of my ears and everything. And I used to love it. But till the moment I started to do a character role, like Rigoletto or Scarpia, things like that, well, the first thing you know, the others are very pale for an interpreter. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
What is the aria from L'Elisir d'Amore?
L'Elisir d'Amore, Come pari del... What is the aria? The title of the aria, is that funny? Come pari di... I think that's the title of the aria.
But the most famous is the tenor aria, of course.
Urna fotiva lagrima.
Lagrima.
Yeah. Well, that's the one that very often, if it's really well sang, I have to say.
Nobody can...
No, not only that. Very often, he'll have to miss it. He'll have to sing it the second time.
Yes.
And we always say, well, it's because he didn't sing it well the first time. He has to learn it for the second time. No, that's not it.
But it's not a baritone's opera.
No, it is not. It is not. It's a tenor's aria. Even the soprano who sings, I have to say one thing. The tenor comes in with Urna furtiva lagrima, and the soprano comes in with her aria right after. That is about 1.5 times more difficult than the one of the tenor. And she has success, but she never gets a success like the tenor's got. Because the aria is so...
Incredible.
Oh, you don't have to be a meloman, you don't have to know nothing, you just have to let yourself caress by a voice, and that's it, you see?
What are some of the other roles that you feel are wonderful for the baritone? You've mentioned Scarpia, Iago, Rigoletto, of course.
Well, I said Pelléas
et Mélisande. What about...
one role that is not a very long role, but I think it's a very interesting role because it has a lot of character, is Faust, Valentin. It's a very short role. And it doesn't have the greatest aria and everything. But it's that scene, it stopped the show. It's so incredible. It's, I don't know, the music is so powerful, that it comes, plus on top of that, very often the craziest thing about opera is to have an aria that falls on the laps of the public at the right moment in the opera. And for instance, the Di Provenza falls right there on the laps of the public. The public expect it, but the thing is, it's right there. And if you do well, I'll tell you one thing: it has its weight in gold.
We missed one of the main roles that I'd like you to talk about, Falstaff.
Before we go to talk Falstaff, we're talking about aria, Don Carlos. The death scene of Don Carlos, of Posa.
We talked about that.
We talked about that. Okay, good. Now, Falstaff?
Falstaff.
Well, Falstaff is, how can I say, I don't think is nobody's opera. It's everybody's opera. It's not an opera that you can say, yes, I would have to say that Falstaff is the key role in the middle and everything, because it's always there. But a Falstaff without the rest of the people around him would make it very difficult.
Well, there's the other ensemble piece I was thinking about, the fabulous fugue at the end.
Well, you got the fugue, some of it, you got trios, you got the quartet, you got quintet in it. It's incredible. But the fugue is a masterpiece.
Yes, and isn't that one of the great character roles that you were talking about?
It is.
More so than just arias.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a wonderful role for that reason. You got all kind of emotion in it. It's not. I would not say that you got the same emotion as a Rigoletto, but it goes through the. For instance, there's one place towards the last act when after he was thrown in the water, Falstaff has a monologue by himself. It's not an aria. It's a monologue. But when you start to listen to it, this old man starts to reminisce that all of a sudden he sees exactly what is happening to him. He feels even foolish about it, because he feels the drama that he was part of, and he realized that people are laughing at him. But all of a sudden, the amazing thing about a Falstaff, all of a sudden came the man from the tavern with a glass of wine, and from that glass of wine he says, well, but it's the past. The past is gone. It's gone. It's finished. And he goes towards another adventure. And it shows another thing, for instance. That bad adventure he had before, he gets caught in the last act, the fugue, for instance, before the fugue, he gets caught in another adventure, like when he was thrown down, and everybody comes around and laugh at this old man. But the one thing he says that is incredible, he said, well, I have to say one thing, that I make people laugh, but without me, who are they? Nothing. Thanks to me, life is what is life. And that is beautiful, because it's really very deep. The way it's written is so deep, so incredible. For instance, somebody was telling me one day that when Toscanini conducted Falstaff for the first time, it was the libretto. He had the score of Verdi. And all of a sudden, it came on the third act. I think it's the third act. And all of a sudden, after he's thrown out in the ocean, in the water, right in the middle of the third act, there was something like maybe 10-page glued together. And all of a sudden, he said to Verdi, he said, Maestro, why is... Oh, he says, it's just a little thing that I had in mind, and forget about it. Anyway, Toscanini, not to displease Verdi, left it like this. But after Verdi died, Toscanini went to get the score and open up these 10-page. And in the middle of these 10-page, one of the page, there was something very curious. There was a long bar of music, and with the notes and everything. And the notes were exactly what he says in the third act. Va, vecchio John, va. And at the end of it, with a big, huge interrogation point. And everybody was asking himself what it meant by this. And Verdi was an old wizard. It meant only one thing. John was him. Va, Verdi, va. Meaning, what's going to happen after I'm dead? And I have to say one thing: when you start to think about it, after Verdi died, there was a lot of other opera written, but not that much.
No, and was a combination of Verdi and Shakespeare, wasn't it?
That's right. I have to say one thing: the complementation of Verdi to Shakespeare words, I think they're incredible.
I would have liked to see Verdi do all the Shakespeare plays, the major plays would have been incredible.
Well,
King Lear would have been.
Yeah, but you know the funniest thing about it, he has a knack for these kind. Naturally, he's not the only one that was it. His librettist was incredible to condense. Well, for instance, if I remember well, Falstaff is a combination of Henry VIII and the Merry Wife of Windsor.
Yeah.
You know, and that is this combination that the librettist took the two play and put it in one.
In playing Falstaff, do you play it the same way all the time, or do you find that there's such a wealth in that character that you can do different interpretations, although it is a comic role in a certain sense?
I have to say one thing. You have to think of Falstaff in a certain way. The way I always played it, there's one thing that remained for me, and it has to remain that way, because Falstaff have to be a caricature. Because trying to have an affair with women and everything, and if you would have a Tarrant Power there, it won't go very, very well, very well. You would understand why the woman falls for him. But when you look at the grotesque of Falstaff, and that comes from Shakespeare himself, he always said it, that Falstaff was a heavy man. And another tragedy of Falstaff was, remember once upon a time, that at the court, he was the more or less very well respected by the king. But his how can I say, his way of looking at life made him understand that what is more important than maybe a glass of wine. And in fact, in one of the acts, he started to explain what is in that glass of wine. All these little words, and it's a jewel. When you start to think about it. And I have to say one thing. At the same time, it may be one of the rarest opera that I've done. That when I come to the third act, I really want to cry. And if I got a conductor that has the sense to do it at the right speed, don't go according if it's written 100. No, it's like the palpitation of the heart, and this is the beauty of it. That I think for me, Falstaff is a great opera for that reason, because it's very human, very witty, and I have to say one thing. It's a man that loves life. What more can you want in life than to love life?
Is there a lot of Verdi in Falstaff himself?
I think no, because I think Verdi was the opposite. And very often, sometime to write about something that is your opposite might be easy to write. Because it's when you have to, like for instance, I always had a big difficulty to do a Traviata, for instance, Germont. Because Germont is a little bit typical my type. It's not my type, but it's towards my type. And I find it very difficult to do it for that reason. But a Falstaff, no. Falstaff, it's the opposite of maybe of my nature, but I became maybe in my life a Falstaff. Because who cares? You have to say to yourself, I love life. People have to love life. Let's stay down to earth. And that is the big problem. People, sometimes they think too high. Stay where you belong.